Hello everyone, welcome to the series summarizing the novel Lord of the Mysteries on the AniMonolith channel. In previous parts, Klein and the Jester engage in a tense standoff amidst the chaos caused by sealed artifact 2-049. The Jester attempts to manipulate Klein into retrieving the Antigonus family notebook, exploiting Klein's supposed vulnerability under the artifact's influence. However, Klein cleverly deduces the Jester's intentions and fakes compliance. When the Jester moves closer, Klein uses a combination of quick thinking and precise shooting to turn the artifact's control against the Jester. Klein forces the Jester into the artifact's range, causing him to fall under its control and lose his advantage. The silver bullet crossed a few meters and shot straight through the neck of the clown in a tailcoat. Since Klein had entered cogitation, he was no longer worried about seeing so much blood. Instead, he remained calm, as if he were in his daily shooting practice. Then, a gaping hole appeared in the clown's forehead, and he quickly stopped breathing. After dealing with his opponent, Klein coldly turned and walked toward Harson. Although he was curious about what might happen to the clown after being completely controlled by the marionette, Klein didn't want to risk entering the influence of the sealed artifact 2-049. He wasn't sure whether the luck exchange ritual he used to save himself would still work. Klein didn't forget to empty the spent shells onto the ground and loaded the last demon-hunting bullet from his pocket into the chamber. As for the clown's possessions, Klein only cared if there was a method for preparing the potion clown or any relevant clues. However, he decided to investigate with the other Nighthawks members to avoid unnecessary risks or suspicions. He believed that, after this mission, the Nighthawks would achieve their goal and likely wouldn't hesitate to give out a Sequence 8 potion formula. Even if they thought Klein wasn't ready to receive the clown potion, he could still earn more merit and obtain it later. The timing didn't matter much to him since Klein hadn't fully digested the seer potion yet. As Klein approached Harson, who was struggling to sit up, he asked if Harson needed help. Harson, instead of accepting right away, first lamented how powerful the monster Ray Bieber was. He pointed to a small blue metal vial beside him and mockingly said, "I intended to drink this, but my hands were shaking too much." Klein glanced over and saw that the blue metal vial was less than 5 centimeters tall, then informed Harson that its contents had spilled. Harson asked Klein to go to Borja and find the vial he carried. Klein agreed but couldn't resist asking, "Is it a healing potion?" Harson answered in a broken voice, "No, it only has a slight healing effect. Its main purpose is to stimulate our spirits and push our physical potential, keeping us in top condition for a short time, just long enough to reach safety and get proper treatment." He then explained that the vial was called Goddess's Gaze, and asked Klein to give Borja half of the remaining liquid. Without delay, Klein went to Borja, who was groaning in pain, and tilted the Goddess's Gaze to pour the dark red liquid into his mouth. The potion worked quickly, and Borja soon became more alert, thanking Klein before standing up to tend to his wounds and check on Dunn and Lorata, who were unconscious. Borja pulled out his own Goddess's Gaze from his second pocket and helped them drink. Klein returned to Harson and gave him the remaining liquid. Harson's breathing calmed, and he swiftly stood up as if he hadn't been injured at all. At Harson's suggestion, Klein moved to help Leonard, but the latter declined, saying he could manage to drink the potion himself. Seeing Leonard's quick recovery, Klein was surprised. Leonard's injuries were lighter than he had assumed. This meant Leonard could have drunk the potion earlier and very likely saw Klein walking 4 steps counterclockwise to perform the luck exchange ritual. However, Klein reassured himself that he had only whispered the incantation in his mind, and the ritual hadn't shown any outward signs, otherwise the clown wouldn't have fallen for the trap. Nonetheless, Klein concluded that Leonard had seen quite a lot, such as how he wasn't affected by 2-049 and how he tricked the clown into the final blow. As Klein pondered this, Leonard approached and smiled, speaking as if nothing unusual had happened. "I was going to save you, but then I saw you didn't need it. Don't worry about it, there are many special people in this world who can do things others can't, like you and me, for example." Leonard then quickly ran past Klein toward Dunn and Loretta. Hearing this, Klein felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He knew Leonard Mitchell had his share of secrets. Klein quickly rejoined the Nighthawks. He watched as Captain Dunn, wearing gloves, picked up the Antigonus family journal, which was stained with brownish-yellow fluid mixed with black blood where the monster Ray Bieber had exploded. The journal, made of tough, dark black paper, showed no signs of softening or decay. It looked exactly like the one Klein had seen in his dreams. Klein began to wonder if, upon opening the journal, he would see the fool adorned with radiant jewelry, just like when Glassy had read his fortune. But reality proved Klein wrong. Dunn had flipped through every page, and there was no image of the fool. After thoroughly examining the artifact, Dunn concluded, in the coming days, the Antigonos Family Journal and sealed artifact 2-049 will be stored in Tingen City's Chinese Gate. This will end when we recover or when reinforcements arrive from Backlund. Klein felt both disappointed and relieved. He wanted to see the Antigonos Journal again to understand the true cause of the original Klein's death, as well as Welch and Naya's. But he also feared the ancient, cursed object and was content that Dunn would hand it over to the church for secure sealing. Borgia and Larata agreed, then approached the sealed artifact 2-049. They helped each other regain focus when their bodies and minds were affected by the marionette's powers, then locked the puppet, now inexplicably moving again, inside an iron chest, all while keeping a careful watch on it. After finishing the discussion about Ray Bieber, Dunn ordered Leonard to stay in the warehouse area and prevent any civilians from approaching. Meanwhile, Dunn and the others would immediately search for the items left behind by Ray Bieber, then take them along with the sealed artifact and the Antigonus Family Journal back to headquarters. At the same time, Dunn would notify Fry and the police to come to the scene for inspection. Leonard completely agreed with Dunn's arrangements. He then followed Klein and the others to the warehouse, or more specifically, to the area near where the Bieber monster self-detonated to search for clues. Everyone assumed that starting from this location would make it easier to trace the evidence. Upon witnessing the grotesque scene left by the Bieber monster, Klein was filled with curiosity, unsure of what Dunn wanted them to find. When Klein posed the question, Dunn didn't give a direct answer but instead said something vague. Ray Bieber turning into a monster shows that he didn't absorb all the beyonder power the journal provided, and also suggests that a part of his body has concentrated beyonder power, making it a relatively high-quality material. Although Klein didn't fully understand what Dunn meant, he nodded when Dunn reminded him, if you encounter a similar situation in the future, be mindful, as it could be something quite important. Hearing this, Klein had a bizarre thought. If the concentrated beyonder power in the Bieber monster was in a sensitive area, wouldn't that make crafting potions a rather disgusting task for the user? At that moment, Borgia suddenly called out, saying he had found something important. Dunn and Harson immediately went over, and, driven by curiosity, Klein also ran to where Borgia was. Soon, Klein saw the object Borgia had found. It was a grayish-white, fist-sized mass, covered in wrinkles and soft to the touch, resembling a freshly extracted brain. Though Klein couldn't discern any extraordinary qualities about this grayish-white mass, the fact that it remained undamaged after the explosive blast was proof enough that Borgia hadn't found the wrong thing. Dunn carefully examined it and, using his gloved left hand, picked up the object. As soon as it was touched, the mass began to liquefy into a thick, viscous fluid. At this point, Harson took out a square, iron-colored box from his chest and handed it to Dunn. Dunn immediately accepted it and poured the grayish-white fluid into the container, then sealed it for safekeeping. After securely storing the item, Dunn and the other Nighthawks members searched the scene again to ensure nothing was missed. Once they were certain, they left the area and headed towards the carriage that had been waiting for some time. Inside the carriage, Dunn, Lalata, Al Harson, and Klein remained silent, not speaking a word as they settled in. Once everything was settled, Dunn suddenly brought up the subject of the Antigonus Family Journal with Klein. He mentioned that he knew Klein was eager to understand everything clearly. Instinctively, Klein denied his desire, knowing that the journal was an ancient and ill-fated object. However, before Klein could respond, Dunn quickly added, "Let's wait until I report this to the church, and after they confirm the security level of the journal, we can consider whether or not you can see it." Klein had no objections to Dunn's explanation and agreed. But to his surprise, Dunn then brought up the idea of making Klein a formal member of the Tingen City Nighthawks unit. Dunn explained that he had previously promised that once Ray Bieber was confirmed to be a descendant of the Antigonus family, he would recommend Klein for official membership in the Nighthawks. Now, Klein had worked with the Nighthawks, not only confirming Ray Bieber's identity but also helping to eliminate the monster he turned into and thwart the Secret Order's plans. During this process, Klein had performed exceptionally well, even killing a member of the evil organization himself, which solidified Dunn's decision to keep his promise and request Klein's promotion from the church. Of course, they would have to wait for the church's response. Seemingly worried that Klein might refuse, Dunn immediately listed all the benefits, especially the salary increase if Klein became an official Nighthawks member. Klein's weekly pay would double to £6, with an annual raise based on rank. The salary would be shared between the church and the Ahawa District Police Department. Klein would also receive the status of a probationary inspector, useful in certain situations. As an auxiliary beyonder, Klein wouldn't always have to face enemies, except in exceptional cases. However, his job would now include one additional duty, taking turns guarding the Chinese Gate once a week with other official members. Klein also wouldn't be allowed to leave Tingen without unit approval and had to keep everything secret from his family. After Dunn finished this very tempting offer, Klein immediately agreed. After reading the pages of Emperor Rosel's diary that he had collected from Old Neil and 2 members of the Tarot Club at the gathering, Klein had already formed a clear idea of what he wanted to accomplish. Klein's foremost desire was to master occult knowledge, find a way to return home and grow his power, ensuring his safety when using the mysterious space above the gray fog that was connected to Earth. Klein had also realized the importance of not overly relying on external forces to avoid danger, as Emperor Rosel had once pointed out. In line with this, Klein believed in strengthening his abilities. After becoming a seer and gaining beyonder powers, Klein discovered that he could manage, or in other words, control, the mysterious space more easily. For example, he could now bring another member into the gathering. This led Klein to think that as he advanced to Sequence 8, Sequence 7, or higher, the mysterious space above the gray fog might change in ways that would increasingly benefit him. Of course, Klein knew that the foundation of everything was digesting and acting out the seer potion to eliminate its hidden dangers. At that moment, Harson, who had been quietly listening to the conversation between Klein and Dunn, suddenly spoke. "Klein, you did an excellent job today, killing a beyonder from the Secret Order, a foe I suspect has already reached Sequence 7. How exactly did you manage that?" When faced with this direct question, Klein didn't lose his composure, as everything had gone according to plan. Klein knew that his act of killing a beyonder capable of fighting 3 individuals, Dunn, Lorata, and Harson, was hard to believe and mysterious, so they would naturally try to find a proper explanation. However, something that surprised Klein was that a long time had passed since the Ray Bieber case and the issue of the journal had been resolved, yet it was only now that Borja, likely with the tacit approval of the other members, brought up his question. Klein quickly deduced the reason for this timing. After the incident, both Captain Dunn and Harson were severely injured, and their conditions could worsen at any moment. Therefore, even if they noticed something unusual, they would avoid creating tension, trying to prevent any negative reaction from Klein due to some secret being uncovered. So, once Klein expressed his willingness to officially join the Nighthawks, they felt reassured and were ready to ask questions since they had figured out Klein's intentions. Klein pretended to hesitate for a moment before slowly explaining the events from the beginning to the end of his encounter with the clown from the Secret Order. He recounted, "At that time, the sealed artifact 2-049 was blown near me, about 5 or 6 meters away. The clown glanced over and concluded that I was within the artifact's influence. In reality, I was only stunned by the explosion, which made my movements sluggish, so, at a glance, it looked like I was being controlled. The clown approached me and offered to rescue me and provide the Sequence 8 clown potion, as long as I agreed to retrieve the Antigonus family journal and hand it over to him." He also mentioned that the Secret Order possessed the sequence pathway for the seer potion, as he was once a seer. Of course, Klein's honest recounting of the situation, and even his inner thoughts at the time, was all to hide the fact that he had been momentarily controlled by sealed artifact 2-049. After Klein finished his story, Lorata gave a sharp conclusion, almost as if questioning the accuracy of fortune-telling. She remarked, if that clown was once a seer, he would have divined the dangers of retrieving the Antigonus family journal. However, he likely didn't expect that the great danger would arise when he tried to lure Klein into fetching it. Klein feigned astonishment, as he had never considered the idea that fortune-telling results, due to their inherent vagueness, could lead to misinterpretation and cause someone to unknowingly walk into the very danger they were warned about. Urged to continue the story, Klein frankly recounted in detail how he defeated the clown. At that point, I pretended to agree, allowing the clown to try to wake me up. However, he didn't dare step within the sealed artifact's influence, so he stood 2 or 3 meters away and tried to push a strange piece of paper onto my shoulder. Taking advantage of the situation, I grabbed the paper and pulled the clown into the artifact's influence zone, while simultaneously firing multiple shots to finish the job. Hearing Klein's clever plan, Borja didn't hesitate to praise him. As for Dunn, he was more focused on another detail, why there was a progression from the seer sequence to the clown sequence, since logically, no one would associate the two.